I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Natalia Ortiz, and this is Currents.
On the 70th anniversary of the start of World War II, clearing up some misconceptions.
There have been many misrepresentations about Poland, about the Catholic Church in Poland particularly.
We'll hear the powerful memories of a Polish Catholic Holocaust survivor.
The Gestapo, he say, you know what Auschwitz is? Yeah, I know what Auschwitz. That's where you go.
And Lino Rulli looks back on the summer.
Good evening. Francesca Maxime is off tonight. Remembering today that fateful day 70 years ago when Germany and Slovakia invaded Poland, igniting World War II.
And in Poland today, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin marked that anniversary by noting the bravery of the Polish people, the soldiers and the officers standing up against the Nazis.
And 7 decades later, efforts are underway to ensure that the courage of the Polish people, especially Polish Catholics, isn't forgotten.
And to discuss that and more, I earlier spoke today with Frank Milewski. He's actually the chairman of the Anti-Bigotry Committee of the Polish-American Congress. Well, Mr. Milewski, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, just to start out, why is this day so important and why should it be remembered?
I would say, and most people would agree, that this was one of the most significant days of the 20th century because it was the beginning of World War II, which involved the entire world into this conflagration that lasted nearly 6 years. And for Poland, it was particularly tragic because it represented the end of a brief period of freedom that Poland enjoyed after it regained its independence with the end of World War I. So picture this, from 1918 to 1939, the Polish people have obtained their freedom for the first time. Germany and the communists of the Soviet Union invaded, and Poland now was subjected to another 50-year period of freedom being taken away from them.
Wow. You think of the Holocaust, and you automatically think of the stories of Jewish people in concentration camps, and of course, not to downplay that at all, but the plight of Polish Catholics in concentration camps might not immediately come to mind. What do you do in trying to, I guess, spread the word about Polish people, especially during World War II and the Holocaust era?
We formed our committee, the Holocaust Documentation Committee, originally when the Holocaust Memorial Museum was opening in Washington, D.C., and our objective was to get the story of Polish Catholics into the museum. And when that was accomplished, the museum opened in 1993, but our committee continues today to try to keep the story of what happened during World War II in Poland exact, accurate, because there have been many misrepresentations about Poland, about the Catholic Church in Poland particularly. The first 2 years of the war, the focus was on the Polish Catholics. Priests were taken into concentration camps. When Germany invaded, they annexed Poland, that part of Poland nearest the German border, and all the Catholic priests, if they were not executed, many of them were sent to the German concentration camp in Dachau, which has developed this notorious reputation of being the concentration camp where the Germans interred most of the Catholic priests. Our efforts are geared to make sure that this history is not misstated.
Right, right. And that the story's gotten out there in the first place, because I know, as we were talking a little bit before we went on here, that it's really the story of Polish Catholics is one that when people talk about the Holocaust, they don't often even hear to begin with.
And that's why our efforts have continued for the last 20 years to make sure that this story is not, well, neglected and not trivialized.
Right.
On my committee are people who went through this hell, you could say, for 6 years, people who were in concentration camps. We also have people who risked their lives to save Jewish people. We are particularly interested in making sure that the Catholic nuns of Poland and what they did in sheltering Jewish children, we want to make sure their story is not forgotten, because these are heroines. There were at least 1,000 nuns cooperating with the Polish underground in taking children into their convents and keeping them safe. And from these 1,000 nuns, only about 20 to 30 have been recognized as, by the state of Israel, as rescuers.
Wow.
But there are so many more that have been forgotten.
Right. Well, it's definitely a story that needs to be told. Mr. Milewski, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Frank Milewski there from the Polish-American Congress. And we'll actually have more on this story coming up later on. A survivor of the Auschwitz concentration camp will share his powerful story.
But stay tuned, there's more currents straight ahead. When we return, rumors of former President Bush converting to Catholicism. We'll hear what his brother has to say.
That and the rest of the day's headlines just ahead here on Currents.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Natalia Ortiz, sitting in for Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, the memories of a concentration camp survivor.
But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. The Catholic Health Association says it has not announced support of any healthcare bill currently on the table. Association President Sister Carol Keehan says healthcare must respect and protect human dignity from conception to natural death. Keehan added that any legislation must maintain conscience protections for healthcare providers. A major figure in a healthcare battle that reached all the way to the White House has died. Robert Schindler, the father of Terry Schiavo, died over the weekend. He was 71. In 2005, his daughter was in a persistent vegetative state and being fed through a tube. Schindler and his other children fought unsuccessfully against Schiavo's husband to keep the feeding tube attached. Terry Schiavo died 13 days after it was removed. Former Miss California USA, Carrie Prejean, is suing pageant officials for libel, slander, and religious discrimination. Prejean says she was subject to discrimination even before her remarks about gay marriage during the Miss USA pageant, when she said she believes marriage is between a man and a woman. The lawsuit claims two pageant officials told her not to mention God during her quest for the crown. A lawyer for the pageant says the lawsuit is without merit.
Gay marriage became officially legal today in Vermont. It's now the 5th state in the country to allow same-sex couples to wed, along with Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Iowa. New Hampshire will begin allowing gay marriage on January 1st. Well, the country's largest group of Lutherans now allows gay ministers in committed same-sex relationships to serve as pastors in its churches. But smaller, more conservative Lutheran groups are making it known they don't like the move. The president of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod says the decision by the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America ignores biblical teaching on human sexuality. Now, the ELCA had previously required that gay clergy remain celibate. One change that evidently won't be taking place is George W. Bush's religious affiliation. Jeb Bush, who is himself a convert to Catholicism, says he doesn't think his brother will become Catholic and that the former president is comfortable in his Methodist faith. Bush was asked about his brother's hypothetical conversion during an appearance at an annual meeting of the Catholic movement Communion and Liberation.
Stay tuned, there's more Currents straight ahead.
Coming up. 70 years after the start of World War II, the memories are still vivid.
There's no way out from here. Only to 3 chimney pointed to the crematorium chimney.
Well, earlier on in the show, Frank Milewski from the Polish-American Congress discussed the plight of the Polish people during and after World War II. And Milewski isn't the only one speaking out about the horrors perpetrated against Poland by the Nazis.
Michael Preisler spent almost 4 years in the Auschwitz concentration camp. He was beaten, intimidated, and forced into hard labor at one point, weighing only 100 pounds. But this Polish Catholic never lost his faith in God.
Indeed, and 7 decades later, this Queens resident is still telling his story to help others understand the full extent of Nazi atrocities. And we do want to warn you, some of what you're about to see and hear is graphic.
In December 13, 1939, the Germans, they have on the list our names, and they just came at 2 o'clock in the morning, midnight. They came over there and they knock on the door and they say, "Alles raus," that means all out. The Gestapo, he say, "You know what Auschwitz is?" "Yeah, I know what Auschwitz. That's where you go." When you say Auschwitz, everybody was trimmed, because you know, Auschwitz, 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 everybody knows. The day when I came to the camp, I went to confession. I remember I was so scary because some priest came over there too, and I just confession. But then I don't know what happened to the priest. When we went out from the train, they started beating you up with the clubs and everything, you know, with the head and everything. And they look at us and they say, "Any Jews here? Stand up. Any priest? Stand up." They give you numbers. They give you our Auschwitz number here. They tell us, "You forget your name. You have no name. You have a number. There's no way out from here. Only 3 chimney pointed to the crematorium chimney. That's the only way where you can get out." Faith doesn't mean anything. You cannot even have a medal or a cross. SS told me once to say, "What do you think? Where's your God?" I said, "My God is inside." He say, "You still believe it?" "Yes." He say, "You know who's my God? Hitler. Hitler is my God. That's what I believe in." They were shooting us just like animals. They were killing people by what? By hundreds. But they do shot in the back, one by one, one by one. Then they put the body on a wagon and pulling to the crematorium. The blood was flowing all over the place. You know, you see this because the blood. In 1945, they were sending all transports to different camps. There were 2,000 people who were marching from Auschwitz to different camps to Silesia. SS say, "If you cannot walk no more, okay, I take care of you." A woman was sitting in the snow with the blood all over the place. Today, I still see this. May 5th, I think, 1945, the German soldiers left. American tanks came, we were so happy over there, we were saved. Now 1945, May 6th, that's my liberation day. It's important to the people that nothing never happen again, the same thing. The people should know. I never forget, and my children also never forget. They kill us, and what we have? We don't even have a compensation. Do we have anything? I lost my college and everything. Do I have anything for them? Did anybody say sorry? Nobody. You went through a lot, but it's happened. Just thank you, God, you know you're safe. You said that God save you, you know, you are not, because you could be dead, you could be shot. But I'm just living with this bad memory from the camp.
Holocaust survivor Michael Preisler.
I'll tell you, it's something that, you know, 70 years later,
Powerful.
Those images are still so vivid in his mind. I mean, you know, it's just gut-wrenchingly horrible.
Well,
what
it's
he
just
went through.
amazing that he lived to tell the tale, you know, because
Right.
a lot of times, many people did not, unfortunately. And, you know, the thing about this story that I liked was that a lot of people don't know that Catholics too were persecuted during the Holocaust, and I think that bringing that to light is important.
Right. I mean, it's a story that bears telling because, and obviously, as I was saying in the interview earlier, I mean, we don't want to take away anything that anyone else suffered, but it's a story that you don't often hear.
Correct.
And that's why the Polish-American Congress does a lot of its work, and especially the committee that the gentleman that I interviewed is on. They do a lot of that work to kind of spread that word that there is, you know, another aspect to this that maybe you don't think about.
It really makes you appreciate the freedoms that we enjoy here in our country, that we don't really have to even think about that. It's taken for granted here that we have freedom of speech and freedom of the press and freedom of religion, and unfortunately that wasn't the case back then.
Yeah, it hasn't always been the case. It's definitely a much better time in which we live today, I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more Currents coming up straight ahead.
Coming up, sit right back and you'll hear a tale. Lino Rulli takes a boat trip.
Well, where did the summer go, for crying out loud? As much as we don't want to admit it, it is September, and that much closer to Labor Day, which is the unofficial end of summer.
That's right. Soon enough, school will be back in, and vacation will be just a memory.
But there is still some time to kind of get out there, enjoy the nice weather. It feels really good out there today. But also some time to reflect on the last few months, and who better to do that than our own Lino Rulli.
Oh yes, he's very good at that actually. Lino joined us here on Currents and became Sirius Satellite Radio's The Catholic Guy. He hosted a show in Minnesota called Generation Cross.
Yeah, and in this next Lino Rulli classic from that show that he did before he got here, Lino and his good friend Bill Arnold take a trip to on a nice boat, and they look at how they spent their summers.
So it's the end of the summer. We figured the best way to enjoy our summer was to go out on a boat ride, right? And who else to go on a boat ride with but Bill Arnold? Bill is dressed like a goof. What's this about?
I thought we were supposed to come as our favorite Gilligan's Island character. Yeah.
And who would you be?
Well, Gilligan.
Have you ever seen Gilligan's Island?
No, I never watched it. My mom wouldn't let me because of the ginger factor.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what's the L for?
Hey, it's for Lino.
Yeah. Well, it should be for loser.
Yeah, same thing.
Thanks. Let's go. No, a question everybody asks, because we take like 3 months off for the summer,
Yeah.
and we come back with a new show. Everybody wants to know what we do for the summer. What'd you do for the summer?
Well, I pretty much stayed out of the sun because I have to.
Why is that?
Well, I can't lose my sponsorship with Wonder Bread.
Oh, you know what? You know one book I read over the summer I really enjoyed? It's by Wolf Blitzer. It was called Things I Recently Found in My Beard. Miracles. We're on water. Jesus walked on water.
Yeah.
You know. You heard about this?
I heard about that, yeah.
You may have read about it.
Yeah.
And me, I always was sort of a person that thought, you know, I don't know if I believe in miracles. You know, because we're modern people. I don't know if we're supposed to believe in miracles. It seems that miracles happened 2,000 years ago. They happened 500 years ago. You know what I mean? But anybody who believes in God believes in miracles.
True.
It's very obvious. God performs miracles.
Yeah, we believe in a supernatural God. Why wouldn't we believe in supernatural things? You look at these beautiful homes, and it does kind of make you a little bit envious.
Yeah, but you have to remember, Bill, money cannot buy happiness.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
Money
That's
doesn't
true.
buy happiness.
Money actually buys the things that buy happiness.
That's right. And there's a difference, isn't there, between being happy, being content.
Yes,
Material things make you happy,
temporarily.
or for a very long time. But
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't be happy living in one of these homes for more than 20, 30 years.
at a time.
Yeah, because I look at these homes and I go, I'd want to live in one of these houses. But, you know, guys like you and I, we filed a short form and we can't
Sounds like my dating life.
get back to seeking God for contentment. That's where you start. You start to admit that you don't have contentment, and that's when you draw to God.
And even I know you go to Him when you're not content, when you're not totally at peace.
And prayer changes the prayer, which is us.
Yes.
And I think through that we find contentment. Because
That's the
God
goal.
promises, as it says in John 14, that He will give us peace, and it's the peace the world doesn't understand.
It's a peace we barely understand.
It's a peace we barely understand, but it comes from Him. We put God in control, and smooth sailing.
You can't just also, though, you can't just sit there and say, you can't treat God as a manservant who's just going to take care of everything for you.
He's certainly not, some spiritual vending machine that would, try to get stuff from.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you allow God to guide, but at the same time, you have to be asking questions. Is this direction you want me to go? Because you can't just sit in the house all day and say, okay, God, what do you got for me today?
No. Don't go knocking sitting in the house all day.
That's right. Bill, this was like the perfect day. I cannot think of anything that would have made this better.
Really?
Yeah.
I could think of one thing that would have made it better.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, see, that's just not fair, because I would think that Lino would make anything more fun.
I have a complaint. I have to do all these hard stories, and he gets to go on a boat.
I know.
What is this about?
I don't know. Especially coming from someone, I got maybe a couple days vacation this summer. I really didn't do much as far as vacation goes. I went home to Georgia for a few days.
Good.
And got to go for my niece's birthday, and got to actually sit out, because where I'm from a town in Georgia called Gainesville, and there's Lake Lanier is there, and so it's like the largest man-made lake in the United States or something like that. And so, but a lot of people go out there on their boats and stuff. It looks a lot like where Lino was just a minute ago, actually.
Lord.
So I got to go, and her birthday party was right out by the lake. And so
how
it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Very nice.
It was just like for a couple days. So.
Well, I didn't do a lot either, to tell you the truth. I mean, I was working a lot for the first part of the summer, and then once I got to rest, I was so exhausted. I just had one of those do-nothing days, like Lino just did.
Right, to like hibernate for 2 weeks.
I really did. I just stayed in my apartment and slept a whole lot. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you need that, though. You need a refresher.
I know, but see, the thing is that now I'm trying to catch up on all the stuff I didn't do. So I'm trying to get to all those picnics in Central Park that I didn't get to go to.
Right.
And, now it's caught up to me.
Well, I'll tell you, though, because when you were on your vacation, I know it was really hot. So,
Yeah.
But now it feels a lot better. The weather the past couple of days has been great.
Well, it's been great, but also it's sort of scary because it's a reminder that the hot weather is out the door. It soon will be gone, and then we'll have to wear sweaters and all those winter stuff once again.
And we know how cold the winter can be in New York.
Us newbies, especially.
Right. All right. Well, Lino, actually, by the way, we need to mention this. We'll be taking our places coming up next Monday. He'll be hosting a special Labor Day edition of Currents.
That's right. It will be all Lino all the time. Well, at least for half an hour.
Don't worry, though. Between now and then, there's actually plenty more Currents.
Coming up tomorrow, move your feet to a familiar beat. It's ballroom dancing, Catholic style.
Get to see her dance, too. Huh? That and more tomorrow on Currents. And remember, you can always catch us online. Go to netny.net/currents. There you can see clips of the show. Check out our blog. It is called Riding the Wave.
You can also send us an email. Let us know what you think or share a story idea. The address is dropusaline@currentsny.net. That is all for this edition of Currents. For all of us here, I'm Natalia Ortiz.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. No, that was good. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.